In a small town nestled between rolling hills and vast forests, there lived a young man named Elias. He was known for his kindness and curiosity, always eager to learn new things and help those around him. One day, while exploring the outskirts of the town, Elias stumbled upon an ancient-looking book hidden beneath the roots of an old oak tree. The book was covered in dust, its pages worn with time, but as he opened it, he discovered that it contained stories of wisdom, adventure, and the secrets of life. Intrigued, Elias began reading the book every evening. He soon realized that it was no ordinary book. It seemed to understand his thoughts and guide him through the challenges he faced in his daily life. The stories within its pages were filled with lessons on patience, courage, and resilience. With each tale, Elias found himself growing wiser, making better decisions, and helping those in need more effectively. One of the stories that stood out to him was about a traveler who lost his way in a dense forest. Instead of panicking, the traveler took a deep breath, observed his surroundings, and used the position of the sun and the sounds of a nearby river to find his way back to safety. This taught Elias the importance of staying calm and thinking critically in difficult situations. As days turned into weeks, Elias shared the wisdom from the book with the people of his town. He told them about the value of patience, the power of kindness, and the strength found in unity. Slowly, he noticed a change in the community. People began treating each other with more respect, helping one another in times of need, and working together to make their town a better place. One evening, as Elias sat by his window, he realized that the book had not only changed his life but had also transformed the lives of those around him. He understood that knowledge and wisdom were meant to be shared, and by doing so, he had created a ripple effect of goodness and growth. From that day forward, Elias made it his mission to continue learning and teaching. He traveled to different villages, spreading the lessons he had learned and inspiring others to do the same. And though the book eventually faded away, its teachings remained in his heart forever, guiding him through every step of his journey. President Donald Trump had long advocated for tariffs as a way to protect American industries from foreign competition. However, his policies faced severe backlash when one of the most iconic sectors of the U.S. economy, the auto industry, began to collapse. The consequences were immediate and devastating, leading lawmakers to scramble for solutions. Some proposed rolling back the tariffs to lessen the damage, while others called for federal financial aid to bail out struggling automakers. Unfortunately, there was no quick solution. The damage had already been done, and fixing the situation would take years. Moving production to other countries was not an overnight process, and rebuilding domestic supply chains required time, investment, and resources. Meanwhile, American consumers felt the impact directly. Car prices skyrocketed, financing options became scarce, and purchasing a vehicle became increasingly difficult. The U.S. auto industry faced a harsh reality: it could no longer rely on outdated business strategies to remain competitive. The global market had changed, and American automakers had to evolve or risk disappearing altogether. Rebuilding supply chains, securing new markets, and forming strategic partnerships were essential steps toward recovery. However, success was not guaranteed. Government policies would need to focus on strengthening industrial resilience to ensure that American manufacturing could withstand foreign economic pressures. But even with careful planning and strong leadership, uncertainty remained. Had the damage gone too far? The trade war had shattered the long-standing belief that the U.S. could dictate global trade rules without consequences. China had responded strategically, and the impact of their countermeasures was unfolding in real time. The American auto industry, once considered the world leader, had taken a massive hit, one that might be impossible to recover from. The U.S. auto industry was more than just a business; it was a symbol of innovation, economic power, and national pride. But after China's calculated response to U.S. tariffs, that foundation crumbled. What had started as a trade war quickly turned into an economic and technological battle, leaving American automakers struggling for survival. Supply chain disruptions, rising production costs, and the loss of access to the world's largest auto market created enormous challenges. The industry was now at a crossroads. Would it find a way to adapt and reclaim its dominance, or was this the beginning of an irreversible decline? The answer to that question would not only determine the future of American car manufacturing but also reshape the balance of global economic power. The financial impact of the trade war was felt immediately by American consumers. Car prices soared due to disruptions in the supply chain, making manufacturing more expensive. Automakers struggled to obtain critical materials like rare earth metals and semiconductors, leading to production slowdowns and higher costs. Consumers who once had no trouble purchasing new cars suddenly found themselves unable to afford them. As demand for used cars increased, their prices also rose, making second-hand vehicles unattainable for many Americans. Dealerships found themselves caught in the chaos, facing unpredictable pricing and inventory shortages. Interest rates on car loans increased, further limiting consumer access to financing. What was once a routine purchase became a financial nightmare, forcing many potential buyers to reconsider their options. As the crisis deepened, U.S. automakers had to make difficult choices. Some companies attempted to shift production to other countries, such as Mexico, South Korea, and India, in an effort to bypass tariffs. However, relocating production was not easy. It involved logistical challenges, regulatory issues, and high costs. Others resorted to drastic cost-cutting measures, such as reducing research and development budgets, delaying new vehicle models, and laying off workers. While these steps were necessary for short-term survival, they weakened the industry's ability to remain competitive in the long run. Meanwhile, China continued to expand its influence in the global auto industry, taking advantage of the turmoil affecting American automakers. While U.S. car manufacturers struggled to recover, China wasted no time in solidifying its dominance. With American companies bogged down by supply chain problems and financial difficulties, Chinese carmakers surged ahead. China's investments in electric vehicles and autonomous technology began to pay off at the perfect moment. Companies like BYD, NIO, and XPeng expanded rapidly, introducing affordable, high-tech vehicles to global markets. Countries in Latin America, Africa, and parts of Europe, where American brands had traditionally been strong, started importing more Chinese electric cars. Consumers welcomed these new options due to their advanced technology and lower costs. At the same time, China formed alliances with European automakers, gaining access to high-end markets while securing advanced battery technology. These strategic moves further isolated American automakers and left them struggling to keep pace. Even within the United States, China's influence grew. Chinese automakers secured government contracts in key regions, helping to expand infrastructure for electric vehicles and self-driving technology. While U.S. manufacturers were focused on survival, China was shaping the future of the industry. The crisis in the auto sector soon led to broader economic instability, affecting multiple industries across the country. Manufacturing states like Michigan, Kentucky, and Missouri were hit especially hard as factories shut down or reduced operations, leading to massive job losses. The impact was widespread. Businesses that depended on the wages of auto workers, such as restaurants and retail stores, suffered severe losses. Many small businesses closed, and local economies struggled under the weight of declining consumer spending. The real estate market also suffered. In areas where auto manufacturing had been an economic backbone, home values plummeted. Laid-off workers struggled to keep up with mortgage payments, resulting in a wave of foreclosures. Banks tightened lending restrictions, making home ownership even more difficult for those already facing financial instability. The stock market reacted quickly, with auto industry stocks plummeting. Investors who had once considered automakers a safe bet pulled their money, further destabilizing the sector. This decline impacted not only car companies but also pension funds, mutual funds, and retirement accounts linked to the auto industry, leading to billions in losses. The trade war escalated into a major political crisis. As the auto industry collapsed, the U.S. government was forced to take action. Some lawmakers advocated for a bailout, similar to the one during the 2008 financial crisis, to prevent further damage. Others opposed government intervention, arguing that automakers had failed to modernize and should face the consequences. The political divide delayed relief efforts, leaving automakers and workers in a state of uncertainty. Meanwhile, China continued to expand its economic influence. The US had always relied on its industrial strength as a core aspect of national security, with the auto industry playing a crucial role in military production. However, with American manufacturing in decline, concerns grew over the country's ability to maintain its defense capabilities in a crisis. China took advantage of this weakness, securing control over critical supply chains. The country strengthened its economic ties through new trade agreements and expanded initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative, solidifying its relationships with key global partners. Countries that had once depended on the US for economic stability increasingly turned to China. For the first time, the US found itself losing control over global trade negotiations. What had started as a trade dispute had become a fundamental shift in global power dynamics. As the US struggled to recover, automakers, government officials, and industry leaders debated potential solutions. Some argued that the only way forward was to completely restructure the auto industry by building domestic supply chains, securing alternative materials, and investing heavily in electric vehicle technology. Others pushed for renewed trade negotiations to repair relations and regain access to critical markets. However, the damage had already been done. Finding new sources for rare earth metals and battery materials was costly and time-consuming, and investments in domestic mining and production would take years to develop. Political disagreements further slowed down progress, leaving the future of the auto industry uncertain. The trade war exposed deep flaws in America's industrial strategy. The belief that the US could unilaterally shape global trade had been proven wrong. China had successfully positioned itself as a leader in automotive technology, while American manufacturers struggled to adapt. The only way forward for US automakers was to embrace new technologies, rebuild supply chains, and form new global partnerships. Even with strong leadership and strategic planning, the question remained, was it too late? The age of US dominance in the auto industry had come to an end. China had taken the lead, and the future of the global automotive market had a new frontrunner. The battle for control over the industry was no longer just about making cars, it was about economic power. And for the first time, the United States was on the losing side.